A soldier lies under the cover of a ridge, her armour wet with her own blood. It seems the battle is lost, just as a hand reaches down into her view. "Come now, soldier, you're not really going to die here, are you?" The woman helps the fallen soldier to her feet. As she looks out onto the battlefield, she points towards the enemy. "Follow my orders if you want to live. Now charge!" Hello, and welcome to the PDH Pod, your source for Pauper Dragon Highlander content. My name is Abby, better known as the CommonCommander, and let's get into this one-on-one. Liara Portyr is a somewhat infamous commander in PDH, for her ability to take over games if not interacted with. This deck is a powerhouse, but somewhat fragile. It's somewhere in between aggro and mid-range, depending on playstyle and pod composition. The main game plan can be split, as always, into 4 pillars: setup, knockdown, how to not die, and how to not run out of gas. The deck cycles through setting up and then presenting overwhelming boards, while hopefully holding up protection. If you lose your footing, you'll have to start again. Alright, so to start the deck list, let's read Liara herself. She is a Boros 5-drop with an aggressive 5/3 body. Her large text box boils down to 2 abilities. For each of your opponents you attack, exile the top card of your library and you can play it this turn. And all cards cast from exile for the rest of the turn cost 1 less for each opponent you attacked. This text box guides our game plan. We need to attack as many opponents as possible, each and every turn, and we need to be able to cast the cards we flip. This basic plan leaves a lot to be explored, but to me, the most interesting part of Liara's text box is her interaction with colourless cards. Since Liara makes them cost less, if the deck is full of cheap artifact creatures, we can keep a free cycle of them coming each and every turn. With that being said, let's get into Pillar 1, Setup. The main goal of this deck is to have 3 creatures ready to attack on the turn you play Liara. She doesn't have to attack herself for her ability to trigger, so this will start the cycle 1 turn early. For this reason, the deck runs effectively 44 creatures. 33 of those creatures are mana value 3 or less. The other way to set up is with ramp. Getting a turn 4 Liara with 3 attackers is incredible, and it's not as unlikely as it sounds. In the 1-drop slot, we have a bunch of 1/1s that give a power buff to something when they die, or in the case of Impulsive Pilferer, make a treasure. These creatures help fill out our early turns, while giving small value in later game. The 2-drop slot is much more powerful and full. The cheap artifacts mostly have evasion or ramp. This way we can keep our game plan chugging faster and through blockers. Generator Servant requires a special mention for its ability to drop a hasty Liara on turn 3, which can speed up the game quite a bit. The 3-drop slot are the most valuable pieces. Many of them make some sort of card advantage upon entering or leaving the battlefield. Others are good beat sticks or have specific artifact synergies, which are really good in this deck, as you may have guessed. Above 3 mana value, creatures have to be very good to make the cut. The Affinity duo are usually free, and the other creatures this high up act as value pieces or big beaters to end the game. For ramp, we play a bunch of creatures, as mentioned before, and some mana rocks of 2 or 3 cost. The Locket, Terminal, and Ornament can provide a mana sink late game when cast for free. The others are just good because they're creatures or they're cheap and effective. The best 2 in the deck are the artifact cost reducers. Although they can't make coloured mana, they either bolster Liara's ability or act as a substitution for her reduction early and late game. Pillar 2 is the knockdown. This is all about how we turn this setup into a win. Firstly, combat damage. If you can build up creatures without throwing them to their deaths in combat, you'll end up with a dozen creatures all chipping opponents down, down, down. To aid in this, we also have some cheap equipment that mostly grants evasion, but also Bone Splitter, which cheaply turns even a 1/1 into a small threat. Then when your opponents are getting low, you can play a board buff, such as Pack Attack or Family Reunion. although there's not many in the deck because when you flip them, they're really often badly timed. The best way to close life totals is the Pinging Bros, Reckless Fireweaver and Ingenious Artillerist, that turn every artifact into one unblockable damage, which softens or finishes off opponents. Now that the two fun pillars are out of the way, let's get into the one that keep us alive. Liara is a very proactive deck, so Pillar 3, How to Not Die, is mostly focused on protecting what we have. For protection spells, the average creature in this deck sucks. They're basically like grizzly bears. The way we win is by churning them out en masse, so we need to protect Liara herself. Single target protection like Tyr's Blessing and Family Reunion are great because of their flexibility. Your Templar's under attack is similar, but even better. The best is Fanatical Devotion, which turns every random creature into a martyr that saves Liara's life. For removal, we have a little bit of burn, a little bit of artifact and enchantment hate, and one all-purpose. The goal here isn't to stop opponents, it's to stop them from stopping us. This deck is weak to board wipes. The best way to play into them is to develop a board with higher toughness, so the little ones die, you have something. And a few vehicles and equipment help you have permanence after the board wipe. Finally, Pillar 4, How to Not Run Out of Gas. This is simple. The answer is Liara. She draws 3 cards a turn. Okay, so obviously yes, Liara is very powerful, but we don't want to put all our eggs in the commander basket. So what's plan B? Red has been getting some great card draw spells recently. We've got Impulse, Resolve, Synthesizer, and Relay. Each of these even exiles, so Liara can reduce the cost of the cards. Other than that, we have some incremental advantages of the 2-for-1 creatures, those that get artifacts back, those that draw cards, and the ones that introduce Initiative and Monarch. One cool card in this deck is Frantic Salvage. This allows you to set up and guarantee a good Liara hit, or even just one good artifact you need instead of a bunch of useless lands, which we can't even play. The final thing in the list is lands, obviously. Tap lands are annoying in this deck as it's very aggressive, but there are some I like enough to play for late game value, like the Cyclers. And of course, the artifact lands and command tower also make an appearance. So there you have it, that's the list. Now, here's some strategy. When deciding mulligans, your most important question is what turn am I likely to get Liara out, and how many creatures will I have on that turn? You can't rely much on land drops in this deck as it has a very low count. This is because Liara can't play lands off the top, so we have to balance the chance of mana screw and the chance to whiff triggers. 3 lands is a good start, or even 2 and a mana rock. But if you see too many creatures more expensive than Liara, it's probably worth shipping. Remember, the goal is to play Liara with 3 creatures on board already. When playing Liara for the first time, it's good to weigh the likelihood of counterspells and removal. People tend to fear Liara when they've played against her before, so consider waiting a turn if you think you won't make it to your combat step and have a cheap protection spell in hand. Your first Liara explosion isn't likely to get you all the way to the end of the game. So hitting mana rocks off the top is a good way to guarantee your 3rd and 4th Liaras, which are very difficult to get to. If she gets too expensive, you'll have to rely on the Pillar 4 cards, or hope that the damage has already been done and you can close out the finishing game. Okay, and there you have it. Thanks for watching this first one-on-one. Maybe there'll be another one on the horizon. If you liked this deck, feel free to like and subscribe to the PDH Pod. If you want to voice your support or criticism, you can leave it in the comments below, or find me on Twitter at CommonCommander to yell at me. If you want to say some nice things, please find Brad, Liam, and Dave on the PDH Pod Twitter account at the PDH Pod. I've been the CommonCommander. You've been awesome. I'll see you next time.